All right, now this one here is another light bath. This particular one here, the patient would sit on a wet towel right there. They close this thing down here, they close this down here, their head would come out through here. Once again, they'd put a wet towel around there, and then they would turn the lights on. Now that one there heats up to 105 degrees. We know this one will go up to at least 150, and you can feel the heat rolling out of there. This is good for warming up the body, skin diseases, arthritis, depression, and getting those toxins out of your body. Now because this is a little more radical, this one would have had an attendant on the outside so the patient did not dehydrate. And those are all actual bulbs in there. I mean, original bulbs. They don't make bulbs like that anymore. Now this is with these 90-pound dresses too. There are organs in your body that aren't supposed to move. If you're tying a corset like that, you're moving things, you're puncturing things. Probably another reason for the 39.9 years life expectancy. Husbands were killing their wife by breaking those ribs and pulling those ribs through other parts of their body. Ellen White actually liberated the woman when she told her to throw away her corset. Didn't know she was the first woman's liber, did you? Yeah. We call it a William J. Hardy exhibit, but then William J. Hardy didn't live here either. The lady that did live here, though, does have kind of an interesting story. Her name was Harriet Henderson Tucker. And Harriet Henderson Tucker came north on the Underground Railroad when she was 2 years old in her dad's arm. Yes, they were runaway slaves. Now, Battle Creek here was a huge stop on that Underground Railroad. There's a gentleman here by the name of Erastus Hussey, who's a Quaker who lived here. He himself knows that he brought over 1,000 former slaves through here and sent them on to Canada. Well, Mrs. Tucker's dad thought Battle Creek was safe enough, so they sat down through its here. As Mrs. White said, you know what, if we can't eat together here on earth, we're not going to eat together in heaven because we're not going to get there. So whenever the Whites would take trips to the northern churches, the Hardy home was kind of a midway point, and they'd stop there knowing they're going to get a hearty meal. William J. Hardy there was also the first black elected official in the United States. In 1872, he was elected Gaines Township Supervisor, and his son Eugene in the other picture was the first black high school graduate in the state of Michigan. So up here in Grand Rapids, Michigan in the 1860s and 70s, the Hardy family was very well known for their religion, their politics, and their education. But a week ago, well, a little over a week ago, there wasn't any green grass here. Oh, wow. Everything was brown. We hadn't had any rain to speak of since July. Called Keen's, about 4 miles to the south of here. You may sit down. When they got done with it as a public school, they brought over the Arboretum, which is about a mile west of here. There, it was getting vandalized. So finally, the Battle Creek Historical Society said to the village one day, we've got a schoolhouse, how would you like it? The village goes, great, we got stories we can tell on it. Well, then they said, we got a log cabin, how'd you like that too? The village goes, great, we got stories we can tell on that too. Well, they were doing so good, they said, well, we got a red barn, how'd you like that too? The village goes, wow, we've always wanted a red barn. So 3 of these buildings were given to us by the Battle Creek Historical Society. We always have to say thank you when they come through.
All the lyrics are Ellen White's first movie.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking it'd be so cool to film it, like, in this church and in her house.
Yeah, especially the acoustics in this building here. Kirkfield will attend the evangelistic meetings. Incidentally, Jan Andrews, who brought Jan Lofton with the Sabbatarian Irish Church when he was 20 years old. Now they're working together. Now, the 10 evangelistic meetings opened on August the 9th, 1859. They ran until September the 4th of that same year. During that time, they had 38 meetings and 20 converts to the Seventh-day Sabbath. I try to always make this the last building when I have prayer, and then they can't leave until they sing for me. And typically, these are, and that's the proof of the whole story.
So this is the first Seventh-day Adventist church.
First legally organized.
Legally organized.
Yeah. Now they were, you know, people out there in Washington, New Hampshire, they'll say, well, we were the first Seventh-day Adventist church, but they weren't organized as a Seventh-day Adventist church.
Right.
They were organized as a Millwright church. Their hymnals don't have the music in them. All they have is the words. October, 1st of November, we have churches going in just about every week in one building.
Wow.
So last weekend of October, all the church shows. All right, now this log cabin here was one of the buildings given to us by the Battle Creek Historical Society. It's been moved twice. Both times they tore it completely down, and that's why you see the new wood up here. Anytime you tear a building down, you're going to lose some wood. All right, now this is the home of John and Betsy White. They were James White's parents. Now they raised a family of 9 out in the state of Maine. After they got old enough to sell the farm, they did so. And then they decided they wanted to live close to one of their kids. They picked James. James Ellen White's house is right directly across the road. Now Betsy White died in January 1871. John. This church here, this is just a replica of the 1857 meeting house. As I said, when James Allwhite moved to Battle Creek in 1855, the congregation was meeting at the Hewitt home. When they came, they brought their Hewitt Herald staff with them. So immediately that building was too small. So they built a small little meeting house in 1855, about the size of a 2-stall garage that would seat about 30 to 40 people. It lasted for 2 years. It became too small. So they had to build the second one. Now this was built on the same dimensions as that second meeting house, 28 feet by 44 feet. And if you were to look into Review and Herald, when they were going to build that building, they wanted to build a building that would seat 300 to 400 people. And as you look around here, do you think we could get 300 to 400 of us here today? I don't think they did back then either. I think they had bigger plans and they had money, and they built it for the size they had the money for. All right, where this wood is right here, this is where the covered wood shed was for James Allwhite's house. So in the wintertime, they didn't get snow on their wood, firewood. In the summertime, it didn't get rain down. And right about where you're backing into, that's where the outdoor toilet was. So don't fall through back there. Now there is some significance to us going in the back door of this house here. Back in those days, guests always came in the front door, but family always went in the back door. We always go in as family at this house here. Well, on behalf of James Allwhite, I would like to welcome you to their home. Now they had this home built for them in 1856 and they lived here for 7 years, moving out in 1863. Now it's while they lived here in Battle Creek though that Ellen White was told every woman's dream. She was neither to cook nor was she to clean. She had more important things to do. She had papers to write, she had sermons to prepare. So at 5 o'clock in the morning the cook served breakfast. And one of the things Ellen White loved for breakfast was her gems. Now we would call these biscuits. Now as they said, when James Allwhite lived in this house, typically summer and winter, they kept the window on each end of the house open. That was upstairs in the bedrooms. So when the cook would start breakfast here in the wintertime, once she got the fire going here, she'd take a stick, she'd move that board off in there, and then the heat from the stove would go up there and start heating up the upstairs rooms until their heaters kicked in upstairs. And down this hallway here, the very far room down that hallway there is referred to as the meal room or the grain room. The one in front of it is referred to as the buttery. That's where they would churn their butter, that's also where they dry their herbs and vegetables and put their canned goods. Today we would call that the pantry. Now when this house was built, it was actually built without a well for drinking water. Now the neighborhood well was owned by a man by the name of Jonah Lewis. He lived a little bit to the south of here, but he had the neighborhood well. So the cook would probably send either Henry or Edson down there to get water for drinking and cooking. But James White thought that's a lot of hard work to get water for baths, for cleaning the floor, and for their laundry. So what they did is they dug a hole in the backyard. Now the original house stopped at that wall right there. They dug this hole in the backyard, they lined it with rocks, they plastered the walls, and then they ran their rain gutters in here. And this would fill up with rainwater. When they put the addition on the house in 1861, they went across the cistern, as it was called, and then they put in the handy little pump head here. So they could pump the water they needed for their baths, for cleaning the floors, or for her automatic clothes washer behind. All right, now not only is this the first home that James Allwhite ever owned, it's the only home that all 6 members of their family lived in. Now they had 4 boys, Henry, Edson, Willie, and John Herbert. The reason we only have 3 pictures is that John Herbert was born in this house and died in this house. He died of encephalitis at the age of 3 months. He's buried out Oak Hill Cemetery 3 miles from here. It was also while they lived in this house here that the Civil War was being fought here in the United States. And right directly across that road right there used to be a huge fairgrounds. And that's where part of the Northern Army used to train. Later on, that's where John Kellogg had his 24-room house for those 42 kids. Well, Henry and Edson, they thought that military life was kind of a fun thing. So they made themselves drums out of cheese containers, bows and arrows, and used to sneak out of the house at night to march around with the troops. James Allwhite didn't think that was a good thing for having his boys to be doing. That's why they sold this house in 1863. They moved out to Maine. There, Henry got pneumonia. Now, back in those days, pneumonia was almost 100% of the time fatal. So Henry's dying wish, he was 16 years old, he made his mom promise that when he died, he'd be brought back here to Battle Creek so he could get buried next to his baby brother, John Herbert, so on resurrection morning, he could carry his baby brother to heaven with him. James White died at the age of 60 in 1881 here at Battle Creek at the sanitarium. Ellen White died 102 years ago, July of this year, out in Elm Haven, California, at the age of 87. And she'd actually fallen and broken her hip 153 days previous to that. This happens quite often, even today with older members of our society. They break their hips quite often as began in the end. They knew she was going to die for quite a while. A lot of the funeral arrangements were made ahead of time. Now she died on July 16, 1915. It was a Friday afternoon, 3:40. They immediately sent out invitations to all the neighbors around Elm Haven to come to a funeral there on Sunday. About 400 people at that funeral. The next day, her body was brought to a little town north of Oakland, California called Richmond, or the California Camp Meeting is being held. There they had a second funeral for her. They had about 1,000 people at that one there. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, her body was placed on a train to come back here to Battle Creek. Now, Willie, her youngest surviving son, and Sarah, her longtime secretary, also boarded that train to accompany the body back here to Battle Creek. By Thursday night, the train had come into Kalamazoo, Michigan, about 20 miles to the west of here. There, 2 men joined the train. One was Edson White, her other surviving son. The other was a man by the name of George Israel. Now, George Israel was the head of the funeral here in Battle Creek. So when the casket got here, it was brought to his house Thursday night. He was there all day Friday. And then Sabbath morning, July 24, 1915, it was brought to the Dime Tabernacle. Or from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10:30, they had a public viewing of her body. 40 miles from home. She never thought she'd live to see her kids ever again. I may have been listening into that conversation because she was showing Satan had tried to. It's like we now have the game plan for the other team. Satan can't. Now this year, this is the parlor of the house. This is where the family would gather. This is where they would entertain their guests. Now James and White moved to Battle Creek in 1855. They were renting a house. It cost them $1.50 a week, $6 a month. But the people of Battle Creek were astounded anybody pay that much money. So eventually they purchased 2 lots on Wood Street here. One on this side of the road, one on the other. Now that blue room right there, that is the boys' bedroom there. That bed in there is called a trundle bed. We do know that they did have a trundle bed. So in a bed like that, probably the older boys would have slept on top. Willie, the third son, would have slept on the bed that pulled out from underneath. Now those ropes there, those were the springs of the day. And if those ropes begin to sag, use that thing with the handle that's on the bedspread there to tighten the ropes up. And the mattresses, they would have been filled with whatever is available at that time of the year. Now, that could have been hay, straw, grass, horsehair, if they were lucky, feathers. So that's where that term sleep tight and don't let the bed bugs might come in. At 5 o'clock, the cook started breakfast. At 6:30, the family as a whole would go into the dining room. There, they'd eat their breakfast, discuss business of the day, and at 7 o'clock, they came out here for worship. Now, the worships were at 7 and 7. 7 in the morning and 7 at night, just like clockwork. Now, James White was here. He'd probably be head of worship. He might tell the family what was going to be in their view and herald that day. If he wasn't here, maybe Ellen White would be in charge of worship. She might tell the family what the Lord had impressed her to write. If they were both gone, whoever was in charge of the boys would be in charge of worship. Words of wisdom were probably really behave yourself. Not that it ever did any good. Well, for those worships, they might sing some songs, have some scripture, have a prayer. James might go down Champion Street to Review and Herald. Ellen White might go upstairs and start working. Now, the only piece of furniture that we actually own in the whole house, or the whole village for that matter, that James and Ellen White owned, is the thing with the Bible on it right there. It was from this time period, so technically it could have been in this house. We just don't have that proof. We just have the proof that they did own it. They might have bought his used furniture later on. People say, well, why don't we have more stuff from that time period? They thought we'd be in heaven. Why would they have kept any of that stuff around?
Yeah.
Alright, we're going to go upstairs to the bedroom.
That's James's room.
I hope someone didn't make the bed.
Alright, this bedroom here. This is Ellen White's bedroom. The one at the top of the steps, that was James White's bedroom. It was a little more common for couples to sleep apart back in those days. But in this case, it worked out to the benefit of both James and Ellen White. James White, when he was here at Battle Creek working at the Review and Herald, when he came home, it was to sleep. Ellen White never knew what time she was going to be awakened. That way he could get up, he could sleep and she could get up and write.
And that is how the video ends, basically. That's how the tour ended also, because that was the end of the tour. We had a nice little prayer there to rededicate our lives to God, and it was just fantastic. The tour there was just so much knowledge and so much to take in. I'm sorry this video ran a little long, but if you liked what you saw, please like the video, comment, subscribe, share with some other Adventist friends if they haven't seen the Battle Creek Village, if you think they're interested in it. And I will see you in the next video. In the next video, we actually go to the cemetery and visit the White family's graves, and that was pretty interesting. And then from there, it's all about how we got here to Wisconsin. So hope you enjoy that. We'll see you later. Please, I'm trying to think of an outro tagline. I really am enjoying keeping your name in the Lamb's Book of Life and then ending my videos with that. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me know, because I need to find a tagline to end my videos. Other than that, bye. Yeah, I don't have any pictures to show you here at the end, so gonna have to stare at my face. Yeah, awkward. Just click the next video, subscribe.